Hello everyone, I'm going to do some predictions today. There will be I want to say at least two because I want to wait till after the US elections to do another one. And there's also some more prophecy that's probably going to come through. It might be two or three, okay? Um, Obviously for me, if the video gets the views, which is really important, and the likes, then it helps me understand that it's worth doing the follow-ups, if you know what I mean. So I hope everyone is blessed. I hope everyone is able in a very tense time to remember to ground yourself at some stage. I don't know why I'm feeling someone's energy right now. I'm getting the name Alex, okay? Very emotional. I'm getting feels really traumatized from what's happening. This could be someone whose name is Alex, who is very emotional during this time and is actually not able to ground themselves. I feel it more than someone in spirit coming through, but it could be there is a person and Alex is in spirit coming through for this person, kind of like sat in a corner, quivering, crying, not able to console themselves, and also what you, if you listen to this or whoever is feeling, is actually, I've mentioned this in a previous read, is, I've not mentioned Alex, but I've mentioned this feeling is just very chaotic. And so the fear and what you're feeling is exaggerated. And I struggled on this word last time. I forgot the word. Exag. It's the same word as exaggerated. Exacerbated. No, can't get it out for some reason. But the person is really unconsolable. It's like panic, anxiety, fear. And something is coming through, and now I'm seeing Alex written big as if it's someone in the spirit world. There's a male figure coming through, older male, and it's kind of like they're coming around you to comfort you. Their energy is so huge, it doesn't even look like a person. It could be an angel, but I feel like you know this person. And they're coming through to hug and console you. And I can see you, I want to say, it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to go manic of tears and shaking calms you down. And it's beautiful. They're coming through white and light blue. And they just hold you. Now I can go further. That was just totally interrupted, by the way. I don't know who's going to resonate with this. Someone out there. I wish the channel was bigger because it probably reaches the person. But we trust in spirit, don't we, during this time, that it will reach the right person, and hopefully at the right time. That was totally unplanned, and I'm just going to shake myself out of that a little bit, and open my eye. I don't want to open my eyes. It's so beautiful how you're getting consoled. I mean, we could all do with a little bit of it. Come my way. Um, okay, so I'll need to get out of it so that I don't get into my own kind of, our own pain and wounds. So I've opened my eyes, I'm out of it. That was totally unplanned. I don't know what I was saying prior to it. But what we can say off the back of that is make sure, oh, I was saying ground yourself, right? Make sure you ground yourself so that you don't feel the fear and the tension of energy exaggerated and you're kind of like in a 7 of Cups where you're in shock, but you're not in shock. And this is something I'm going to actually get into because it's an energy I feel some of us, even on a country scale, is going to be feeling. Now, unless I mention a country, it could mean that you feel it on an individual level or world level. And I've noticed some people who do the predictions who might use cards or conspiracy don't necessarily mention the countries. But I'm going to do the countries, and I'm also going to, what do you call it? Give you prophecy. And this is why I also want to do 1 or 2 readings after the 5th when the energy calms down and I can tell you a bit more. I want to give us guidance right now. I'm a bit late on that. And for whatever reason. Okay. So, firstly, we know that there's obviously tension coming up. I mentioned if you're voting on the 5th, go early. If someone says you duck voter, you camel voter, you whatever, just remember that what they say to you doesn't affect the outcome. So why do you need to turn and give that energy? Don't, it's not worth it. And there could be, I've mentioned something about voting boxes or the ballots, like seeing a box or something and something, there could be a little fire, but at the end of the day, there's a bit more tension. I don't know how many of you voted. Can you send your votes in? If you've done that, that's probably better, but I can understand some people want to go there, make sure their vote is received. Stay safe, you'll be fine, you'll be protected. Just don't engage. Just remember, I don't need you to engage in this. This goes for anyone right now in the world, Western world, because I feel in the Western world we're focused on these things. Like, for example, the rumor of Harry getting a divorce. I was thinking to do a reading. My energy is rejecting it at the moment. I'm feeling like there's bigger fish to fry. And at the same time, this November is beautiful. How many countries have in their local, please don't go to Starbucks, local cafe, pumpkin spice latte or something like that? Or if I have my coffee that I just made, which I kept it aside, I could show you a homemade one that I've made myself. So just those little warmth. Maybe you get a candle in your home. It's satiated energy. It's beautiful energy, but there is, in this first, I'd say 11 days, there's kind of like, what on earth is happening? What is happening? I've mentioned on the 5th of November, what is happening with the votes not coming out, the result. I could be wrong, but I see a void there. There's something void when you're supposed to get it. I think you're supposed to get it Tuesday evening right away. I see a void. Could that be a 3-hour delay or a day or a couple of delays? Could it be like you don't hear anything, but the next day you hear something and you kind of like, oh, we've got some update. And then you're like, but does that really tell us the outcome? And just, even in the UK, if you get in a train, if you get in a tube and someone tries to, this term is a bit wrong, but yeah, rub you up the wrong way, is it worth me saying something? Do they look like a hooligan? My nana used to use the word hooligan, like, those hooligans on the street. Who else did? Which reminded me, I was going to say something. Oh, it's about, I want to do an energy update on the Delphi case for Richard Allen. And sorry for this, but Yoreen was coming through. And I was like, yes, I need to reiterate what I got in my first reading. And even though I wasn't so graphic, but then Janet Jackson came through, and I'll explain that in the Delphi case because it's rather relevant here. We're going to continue to see where media tries to cover something, exploit something over another, see if you feel the vibe, see if you catch on to it. There's definitely more corruption around. What you should hear around this time is a cult and sex kind of stuff might ramp up. And we definitely saw something around the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. And I see, which might not be sex, but I see a CEO. Please forgive me if this happened in the last kind of 5 days or just recently, because obviously I'm taking notes. I've got my notepad here, and sometimes you might see me holding my phone because if I'm doing a walk or something, I'll have one phone with me, I'm listening to something, and I'll just pull a bullet point. And I found sometimes that can be better than me scribbling because oh, I can't read my writing. So that was a bit of an accent, wasn't it? Okay, so what we're going to do, so I see a CEO stepping down or resigning or some movement with a big CEO, and it's kind of like it ties into voting, it ties into election, and it's kind of like, that doesn't make sense. Why are they having to move or resign or something because of their vote or a voting or an election, something around that. I also see there is going to still be losses. I feel there's a loss in December. You would have kind of maybe know who, I'm not sure if there's a complete loss, but it's an energy that starts into the loss. There's a downfall on the stock and economy, and you're going to feel it in currencies. Those of you, if you transfer any money abroad, you might see the down in the currency exchange. There is definitely a down on the currency economy, crypto even, and stocks. Okay, going to take a bit of a hit. And you can watch that. I know last time I had a question on gold, so I'm going to answer that. I think you're going to see the price of gold go up and then stabilize and go up. So there's going to be peaks throughout the month of November where it does increase, okay? A lot more than, in October, I could see a peak. I could see a good value for money for the buyer, for the seller. At different times now I see the price going further up, okay? In the last predictions I mentioned about China, the president being angry, just his energy, and I think it came through that he something with Taiwan. I've mentioned Taiwan prior, but he basically, I wonder if I took the, so there's some validations, but I'm not going to go through them all basically. But I could feel his energy so potent and peed off that we actually got that through. So let's just see something. I'm going to give you dates in November as well. And what we, I don't know, I have a note here, Canada, look at my September notes. So I might just pull cards on Canada because I don't have my September notes anymore. remember this mountain I drew, I still see that vision. So mountain with ice cap and then the red ring, and that might tie in with what I've been getting is that there is going to be snow, and in some parts of Canada it might be early. There's an energy, and I don't know what areas in the US, I dare say towards Canada. I want to say maybe west. I mean, I did like say last time there was a belt of tornado. And I think some areas in the US feel they've not had rain, where obviously other areas have had rain. So that's interesting. But some areas might get snow early. There's like, and this also for the UK, there might be, at the moment, I think temperatures are fine, but there might be sudden bitterness that comes through, and we could see some cold. I mean, so far it's not that bitter, but I also see for the UK that dark day I mentioned. And I think what they're going to try and do with some electrical stuff is, you know, do you know when like a few houses down a street and then they say the wire down the street or something like that for maybe just, you know, a half an hour or something? There's going to be those kind of like power cuts where you're not sure if it's, you won't know, like it's from, they're going to say there's a wire problem down the street that has the lampposts with the wire. Like I said last time about the street lights turning some off. So I do see some power cuts and stuff. And that does take me to some things I want to say. Around the 11th, okay, and I'd say up until the, to be fair, I'd say up until the 17th of November, please be careful with your electricity, okay? And especially around the 14th and 15th, so 11th, 15th, 16th, I really feel are the energy of electricity. There's big shocks that are coming through, and also just like, I'd say for even, I don't know why you get Trump, but Trump, Duck, I don't think he has a heart problem, but at this point in time, if any of you do, or nervous system, just look after your nervous system. So what do I mean by that? If you normally take your medication, but sometimes you're tardy, these are not dates not to take your medication to stabilize your heart or your nervous system. Okay, so I see like voltage, energy, 11, 15, 16, but take that whole week to the 17th. And obviously, if it falls at a few days out, then I'm just giving you my two things. During the first, like I said, the first 11 days, there's this kind of like chaotic energy where like, what is happening in the world? I don't really understand what's happening in my country. What is happening across the pond? What is happening in the Middle East? What is all this chaos? And then you feel like some people are really airy-fairy, looking at other stuff and living life, and some people are right quite concerned. And there's like, you're looking at like, even on an individual level, there's some kind of, I'm getting also, if you look at it and think about it, you're going to feel like there's a weird energy at the moment with time, okay? I know that there might be some periods where we feel there's a time forward leap. At the moment, I feel like it's really slowed down. In some elements, it's so slow, especially for the Middle East, right? And the areas of war. But in other countries also, I feel like even the US elections, they feel it's like really, really slow. And some countries are just not in tune with that energy, but I feel the time is at a stop at the moment. There's that kind of energy, and that is causing a bit of confusion. We can't see clearly what is the outcome, what is not the outcome, regardless what country you're in. Will there be an outcome? Will there be an end? And then from, I would say like, so 11th, careful of high energy, careful of electricity, careful of your health around nervous system, heart. This goes for global as well, and the countries, and also fires, right? And did I finish mentioning like Canada and some areas of the US, there'll be snow, floodiness, snow again, kind of like snow melts, a bit of floodiness, and then the snow comes again when it can lay, and it will lay. So around those dates, and I've lost what I wanted to say. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. It depends, what comes to me with my notes while I'm looking at them. So there is that energy, but then from 14th onwards to the end of the month, there's movement. I feel there's movement, and we need to really be careful around the 15th, 16th. Look out for those dates. So I already mentioned the energies around the 1st, 2nd November, obviously the 5th of November. I would also look at the 11th, a big date. Remember, the energy can kick in, but the shock we receive can be a day before, day after. So there is going to be like 14th, 15th, 16th energy that kicks into a world shock energy, even like, or something you feel energy. I would also be careful this time of rumblings of the earth. And then I want to give you the dates of the 18th, 19th, okay, and the 23rd feels significant, okay. I'm also now getting through the 28th of November. So those days kind of feel like shape-shifting energy momentum. I do see in Spain there's some floods, and I think I've missed something that I wanted to channel there, but let's keep going. Spain kind of floods, in Europe as well. So we do have still a little bit of floody energy, water energy. I do see, did I say about seeing the military at the White House? So I don't know, and I feel like it makes sense obviously around the 5th, but also it might be something that's happened or happens, and you're kind of like, why is it happening now? Is it for the elections? Is it for protection, or is there something else going on? I still see like the Navy, the military, that's Navy obviously, in the sea. And I see China and Russia around this, like the big contenders in this for some reason. So what is going on? I've mentioned about the CEO who's known. I feel like that is going to come up in the news, and it's not going to be bought into so much, but it's going to be like, why would he leave for this reason or something? But it's going to die down. I see that we're going to have a solar flare, which is rather weird, or it's going to be said as a solar flare. And in some countries, you're going to see, like, even though it's winter, you're going to see like red in the sky, and it's gonna show that it's either very prophetic, or it's just not natural energy. So it's either very prophetic, or there's a bit of man-made energy that happened that caused it to happen afterwards. So it's not like it's man-made and it happens, something man-made, and there's a delay, and the sign of whatever man was trying to do, the universe is giving that red light, or it's very prophetic at the same time. But I feel behind it, either man was trying to manipulate something, but there's something there with that. So I get that as well. Let's just tick some of these off as we go. I still get the protests, especially from now until the 18th, 19th of November. Protests against companies, registration, okay, whatever that means, it's just come through. Organizations, your pay, anything rigid, anything government. I'm seeing also doctors. I think there's going to be, remember, it can be November onwards. There is going to be the energy of pharmaceutical. There's going to be something that comes out from pharmaceutical, whether we see it or not. Okay, they are playing, it's a game. Okay, there's a game behind it. I see a game behind it. I see it like, ooh, let's do this, so whether we see it or not, there is a bit of a scandal with pharma, okay, going on. And I don't necessarily mean one company here, I mean the background. I do feel like New Zealand was coming through, and for some reason I see that recently, or there will be a bit of increase in crime. If you're from the New Zealand and you're tuning in, let me know what that means, if it's happened. If not, look out for that. It's nothing to scare you. Let's just check the timing. Okay. All right. I've said about SEX and cult elements of exposure still coming through, and the energy really supports that. The energy will exacerbate that word. I need to look it up so that I can say it again. Will really bring it up to magnify it, okay? Also watch what gets blown up beyond proportions, and sometimes things are less serious that don't get blown up. So I still see surveillance, and obviously I've mentioned this around the UK. I've mentioned, I think there's a tapping in worldwide in terms of our surveillance, but we're going to see something that's introduced. We're not going to know it's by surveillance that's introduced that actually we find positive or adds to our life. But again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in terms of surveillance that invades our privacy, our data, and even in the past, I've got the hospital breaches and data, and we did get that in the UK in the NHS, and we got it with Princess Catherine when I predicted it, and then it came through. I am getting something around hospitals and the files, and the way the files are kept. It seems like it's very accessible. They're getting a bit tardy with, people that can actually just step in and access. So that is something coming through. I wonder if our files could be sent to pharma to develop a new, okay, this is channeled, to develop new medications, DRUGs, or jabs, where they see high chronic illness, but building it just on symptoms and making it as if it's an illness, and then they introduce stuff, okay? So that is something that I see UK, but also I think it's worldwide. I'm like US, big Europe. Don't forget, China did create what it created. There is an energy this month, I do have to say, that is kind of like you want something, and like I said, with the time stop that I really feel, does anyone else feel it? There's a time stop right now. I don't know if you feel it. Watch the energy shift around the 11th, okay, onwards. And you will get what you want, but you're in shock, and you're kind of like, what? I don't understand. How have I got what I want? You're in total shock that you've got what you want, and you're kind of like, I don't know if I want this anymore. Do you know that energy? So that energy is coming up. Okay, that will be individually and worldwide, and you kind of feel like the chaotic element of it. And I actually see someone in shock that feels time has just paused for them. Well, then suddenly it speeds up like 10-fold with loads of things happening. And in the middle, they can see what they wanted, and they're kind of like, did I really want that? And they can see loads of wires connected to the thoughts as well. So that's interesting. I do get something about 2020 being over, or a correction. Okay. Let's just tap that. Let's pull some cards, and then what I'm going to do, I might do a separate UK one to check. So something that was coming through for the UK is Wales. Wales keeps coming through to me. Wales as the country coming through to me very strongly. I also get a very strong energy of a main train line and a train being derailed. This could be London to Scotland to Wales, something. I don't get so much Scotland, but there's a connection from England to Wales, something big is happening. And there's also on a main train line or a train line, a derailed train, unfortunately. I do, when I was thinking of Wales just before starting, I'm like, what is it about Wales, Wales, Wales? But also then I could see, you know, last time I said about protecting the sea animals, I could see like whales, and they look like ochre, white, not ochre, ochre is the black and white ones. Um, I could see whales and I could also see dolphins, but there's kind of like a joy, there's like a smile on their face. So I don't know what's happening there. But that is something, and maybe it's a sign of, you know, bring some kind of joy. There's something around maybe tapping into water energy, remembering like a dolphin, playful energy. I feel the dolphin energy is coming a lot more in as opposed to the whale energy. Okay, so that was to get me to the whales, but Wales as the country is coming through very strongly. The other thing that I got, by the way, just in case I forget to mention it in the UK part, you're going to have to forgive me, but probably about 6 months ago or early in the year, can't believe we're at the end of the year, there was a lady who was a governor or an MP in Scotland that was in the news for some sort of fraud and signing. Like she'd done some money fraud, anti-laundering. I cannot remember her name. I think my UK viewers, you might be able to remember her name. She was coming back into me. That energy is coming back. So is someone of a big government, an MP coming in, going to be hitting the news for for fraud in particular, and signing off on stuff that they shouldn't sign? And then her energy is coming up. Is it that she has a case she needs to represent? Is she going to come into the news? There's something around that, and the connection to what she was up for, basically, either coming into the news. So I do get that, and we'll tick that off. What I'm going to do now is I am going to pull some cards, and I still have prophecy and some more predictions. Like I said, look out for the certain weather elements I've mentioned. And what we'll do is pull some cards to wrap this one up, and we can go into the next one. So let's see here. Wow, strong cards for the US. Guidance for the US, which affects the whole world. And I can see that in this. There's a death and a rebirth. Remember my last readings? I've said it. There's a death and a rebirth. And there's a lot of people holding on to this string of faith, this string of hope. And there is a wish fulfillment come through. There's a divine feminine here and a rebirthing. We also have a divine masculine, okay, who is, look at the water element here, ground yourselves in water, absorb the water. And this is also why I'm not keen on, there's a prediction about the crack in, I think I mentioned it in October or September, a crack in the earth that's down in the water. And the reason I don't really like all this man-made getting rid of water, developing islands and stuff is, and what I can see, the tech they're trying to plant in water for surveillance, it takes away the natural element and it adds more man energy, and you can't ground yourself. I've gone off a tangent, right? And here is just allow the rebirthing of the new to come through. Go vote, trust what comes through, and look, there is a wish fulfillment here. There is a wish fulfillment. The outcome will be a wish granted. It will be a liberating energy. Now, some of you are probably not going to agree until there's an outcome and say, nah, I don't agree. Now, if you look here, we've got 5 cards. 3 from the beginning are, Spirit's reminding me of something. 3 are major arcana, very strong cards. We've got Scorpio energy, Aquarius energy, we've got Taurus energy. Be careful at all this month, and be careful around the dates I gave you after the 11th. ground yourself, do what you got to do, and then go to the weekend, have a weekend away with your family, listen to the news when you need to, but don't get hooked up on it, right? Allow the death and the rebirth and the healing of the country to come through. I'm reminded of the energy of the 3 here, where I said it could be 3 hours, a movement after 3 days that you see a bit more significant, making sense. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the UK. Oh, let's do Canada. Canada, I don't know much about. I've got a couple of friends that migrated to Canada. I wanted to at one stage, and I was like, what is the point if it's freezing cold? It's just like the UK. So then I looked at certain parts in the States and other countries actually that were sunny, because I have lived abroad. So I know you're fed up from your president, right? But let's see, advice for Canada during this time. I've just remembered one. I got one. I think it's Yvonne. You said about the oil and gas. I need to write that down for the next one. But I'm going to say now, I don't see, especially with the Middle East, in this current time, in this 2 months, let's say 6 weeks, any downfall or stabilizing of the price of oil and gas. If anything, I think it's going to increase a little bit, but we can pull some cards and see what advice we get on that in the next read. Okay, so Canada. Oh, Canada, High Priestess, 6 of Wands, and you've got also the healing card, 5 cards, and the 7 of Cups. You're not sure. There's a Hanged Man state. There's kind of like, what do we need to do to really liberate ourselves during this moment? Because we feel stuck. We feel that no one's paying attention to us right now. So as Canada, how can we come together to get the success we want, the wish fulfillment, and this confusion over that? Will there ever be change? We're not being recognized in terms of other countries, maybe what we're going through, what is happening. I think someone asked me, would the election affect our economy? It's going to affect the economy overall, but it's not necessarily going to hamper down on your economy. You've got bigger fish to fry from what I'm getting, whatever that is. And so there's a confusion. Okay, Canada, I'm sorry about that. The fire alarm went off, but I don't know where I got up to. There's a state of wishing, but you can't see clearly if you're going to get the outcome. I feel like this pause state is really saying the people of Canada know the outcome, but it's your mind, it's your mind as opposed to your mind's eye that's causing the confusion. The advice here is to really pull together as Canadians in whatever is happening. That is really the advice here. There is something around building either resources or a new way of living or economy. It could be jobs. There's something around that. It could be benefits. And it'll be building it from a new perspective, whatever this could be. Okay. I think I've had the fire alarm go off once in a couple of years. Just recently, like what reading was it? What was I mentioning? So interesting. Now let's pull some cards on. Remember, if you want your country to have cards of advice for the next month, make sure you subscribe and in the comments. Let's go UK. UK, I'll do a separate reading, but there will be more coming through, and some of what I've said is already. Can you see how everyone is really holding on for hope, right? So with that, I always say we need to come together. This is a time to come together. And if you don't do it from like the 18th, I'd say from the 17th, 18th, 19th, those big energy days, the universe is already pushing us. Like when we've had the hurricanes, when we've had the governments, right? if you're not understanding to come together, you're not gonna move forward. So the world needs to move forward. I know people are like, I can't really do much, you know, the freedom of speech. I can't really, for example, I didn't have this comment, but it'd be people, well, I can't really do much. You can't. But when you resist and someone else is standing there resisting, then it takes over the control of one government, one framework, right? But don't resist when you don't understand. If you're coming from fear, ego, or just being resistant, you need to come from an educated, a grounded, a mind's eye perspective, a higher consciousness. The problem with freedom of speech is unless we all try to level out more of us on the disparity of consciousness to the same level of where we need to be, we're going to have this issue, right? So here, the UK is impatient. It's like we're hoping on a star. We're trying to be patient. We don't know where things is going, right? We've got the King of Pentacles here. We don't know where things are going with this Kia Starmer, right? Where are things going with the money? It's kind of like they're saying you've got this money now, but then they shoot you back by pulling the money back. So what was the recent thing? Minimum wage goes up and tax goes up, right? So it's kind of like we'll put in, but we receive back, right? There's a magician energy, there's a manipulation energy here, and we can see it with the money. Some of us can't see it. Some of us can't see it. There's a fear, there's a hope, and there's kind of like patience, but not seeing. After this patience comes anger, not seeing movement. You're having patience, you're trying to show love, you're trying to be patient. Some people protesting, whatever it is. Where's the hope? We're not seeing the outcome. There's fear here. We're getting these governments that are like, well, we're doing this, we're delivering the money, etc. But there's still people being left out in the cold. I knew that was coming. But there is an ending to it, and there's a new rebirth thing. Okay. I don't want to take more cards because it won't be fair to the other countries. There's a manipulative energy I'll put out, but whether you know it or not, if we say taxes or not, we're getting it back in, right? Which reminds me, I think we're going to see, you know, we're going to invest in the NHS, but you're going to see like some roles are paid in disparity and something returning back. I don't know what it is. We'll have to pull cards. Let's pull some cards on Palestine. Palestine and Lebanon, okay? Your advice, there we go. Star card, can't lie, can we? Take the bottom of this. Was this in reverse? I think so. We'll look at the energies. Trying to juggle patience with the, and I'll look at the bottom of the deck, with what is happening around egotistic governments and leaders, like probably NIT, right? That are not in their power of truth. But it's interesting I put this slanted. The King of Wands, the Knight of Wands. The in and out energy of, will we be okay? We're trying to be patient, but then a desperation kicks in, a fear kicks in. Do you know when one day you're like, I've got the hope of God here, but then the next day you're in panic, fear, I'm trying to migrate, I need to get abroad. You're in two minds, you're still hoping and wishing within line your faith, whether it's, I just believe in a higher power, I'm X religion, that religion, calling out, praying. You're in two polarities and you're not sure, what do I do here? I've got nowhere to go. Can I go? Can I move? There's something, again, a spiritual reminder, there's a time lapse for you. Time is, there seems to be no improvement, being patient in prayers, being patient overall, but there's no movement forward. And still there's this energy that the world is not opening up. The world is not concerned when it comes to trying to face this energy. Seeking of harmony is really, really big here. Seeking of harmony. I was going to say I'll pull, oh, by the way, Cyprus was coming through. I'd leave that for the next one. Hopefully I'll remember. But it's definitely unfocused energy that is being targeted, but you know, you feel that you're going through being patient, and then no, I need to move forward. I don't know how to move forward. I don't have the key. I'm trying my best. So that's what I have there. I'm going to leave this here, everyone. Look out for the next one. We've got so much more to cover. There's your dates to look at. And I will pull more cards. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. I wanted to say this. I wanted to say, if you can for today, we can't change the world alone, but maybe you leave a comment for someone. Maybe you know, smile at someone on the street. Maybe you just come together. It's, you know, again, the energy will be testing us if we're not going to come together, and we're going to continue to go against each other for governments. I'm not just talking US, right? It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. So the universe will be pushing us individually and on a world level to do this. Two of Cups, come together. Can we see the sun? Can we see the sun, Spirit? Can we see the sun? I think we can. Yes, we see the sun, and we're not going to see the Eight of Swords. We see the sun, the success, Spirit reaffirming what I've mentioned. Okay, I'm going to leave it here. On the next one, I'm going to pull some oracle card messages. We're going to go into some prophecy as well. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, everyone.